Before the passage from 1984 by George Orwell, in this scene, Winston faces interrogation by O'Brien, where pain becomes a weapon designed to not just break his body, but his mind as well. Do you remember, he went on, writing in your diary, freedom is the freedom to say that 2 plus 2 make 4? Yes, said Winston. O'Brien held up his left hand, its back towards Winston, with the thumb hidden and 4 fingers extended. How many fingers am I holding up, Winston? 4. And if the party says that it is not 4, but 5, then how many? 4. The word ended in a gasp of pain. The needle of the dial had shot up to 55. The sweat sprung out all over Winston's body. The air tore into his lungs and issued again in deep groans, which by even clenching his teeth, he just could not stop. O'Brien watched him, the 4 fingers still extended. He drew back the lever. This time, the pain was only slightly eased. How many fingers, Winston? 4. The needle went up to 60. How many fingers, Winston? 4. 4. What can I say? It's 4. The needle must have risen again, but he did not look at it. The heavy, stern face and the 4 fingers filled his vision. The fingers stood up before his eyes like pillars, enormous, blurry, and seeming to vibrate, but unmistakably 4. How many fingers, Winston? 4! Stop it! Stop it! How can you go on? 4! 4! How many fingers, Winston? 5! 5! There are 5 fingers! No, Winston. That is no use. You are lying. You still think there are 4. How many fingers, please? 4, 5, 4, anything you like. Only stop it. Stop the pain. Abruptly, he was sitting up with O'Brien's arm round his shoulders. He had perhaps lost consciousness for a few seconds. The bonds that had held his body down were loosened. He felt very cold. He was shaking uncontrollably. His teeth were chattering. The tears were rolling down his cheeks. For a moment, he clung to O'Brien like a baby, curiously comforted by the heavy arm round his shoulders. He had the feeling that O'Brien was his protector, that the pain was something that came from the outside, from some other source, and that it was O'Brien who would save him. You are a slow learner, Winston, said O'Brien gently. How can I help it? He blubbered. How can I help seeing what is in front of my eyes? 2 and 2 are 4. Sometimes, Winston. Sometimes they are 5. Sometimes they are 3. Sometimes they are all of them at once. You must try harder. It is not easy to become sane. He laid Winston on the bed. The grip of his limbs tightened again, but the pain had ebbed away and the trembling had stopped, leaving him merely weak and cold. O'Brien motioned with his head to the man in the white coat, who had stood immobile throughout the proceedings. The man in the white coat bent down and looked closely into Winston's eyes, felt his pulse, laid an ear against his chest, tapped here, then there. Then he nodded to O'Brien. Again, said O'Brien. The pain flowed into Winston's body. The needle must be at 70, 75. He had shut his eyes this time. He knew that the fingers were still there, and there were still four. All that mattered was somehow to stay alive until the spasm was over. He had ceased to notice whether he was crying out or not. The pain lessened again. He opened his eyes. O'Brien had drawn back the lever. How many fingers, Winston? Four. I suppose there were four. I would see five if I could. I tried to see five. Which do you wish? To persuade me that you see five? Or to really see them? Really to see them. Again, said O'Brien. Perhaps the needle was at 80. Perhaps it was at 90. Winston cannot intermittently remember why the pain was happening. Behind his screwed up eyelids, a forest of fingers seemed to be moving, reappearing again. He was trying to count them, but he could not remember why. He knew only that it was impossible to count these fingers, and that it was due to some mysterious identity between five and four. The pain died down again. When he opened his eyes, it was to see that he was still seeing the same thing. Innumerable fingers, like moving trees, were still streaming past in either direction, crossing and recrossing. He shut his eyes again. How many fingers am I holding up, Winston? I don't know. I don't know. You will kill me if you do that again. 4, 5, 6. In all honesty, I just don't know. Better, said O'Brien. A needle slid into Winston's arm. Almost in the same instant, a blissful, healing warmth spread all throughout his body. The pain was already half forgotten. He opened his eyes and looked up gratefully at O'Brien. Thank you.